There we go. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Again, sorry about that. Sorry about the technical problems, but it's live TV, so this is what happens sometimes. First of all, thank you guys so much for coming today. This is our training session for to kick off the fall semester, and we wanted to start trying to come back into our normal environment. We have a lot of people online who aren't able to make it here personally, but everybody will have the same training, so we're excited about that. Let me start by introducing myself to some of you, reintroducing myself and to others, because last year I was actually in our institutional diversity area, so I wasn't in the department. But let me start. My name is Stan Shingles, and I'm Assistant Vice President in Student Affairs. I have oversight for University Recreation, the department that you'll be working in, and we're excited to have you as part of Team URec. 3 weeks ago, I started my 33rd year at CMU. I was here, just to give you a little bit of history, I was here when this building was being built. In 1989 is when I came here, and this building opened 31 years ago in 1990. And here we are living in it today. Boy, it's a different world than it was when I came here 32 years ago, because we were doing a lot of things in a lot of different ways. There were not the technologies that we have today. The world moved a lot slower than it does. It was a lot bigger than it is today. But more importantly, the world that we live in today, we were not living in a pandemic. I believe that this university has done great work, especially over the last year, especially those of you who are returning students, in understanding that we're all managing through this, whether you're in corporate America, whether you're in nonprofits, whether you're in primary, secondary education, whether you're in churches or other walks of life. Everybody's impacted by this. And so this university has taken extraordinary measures to make sure that this is a safe environment that we can welcome students back in. Of course, like any situation, it's never going to be perfect, but we're going to seek perfection in an imperfect situation. So that's always going to be a challenge. I'd like to take my hat off to Dr. Davies and administration for really working hard to make this an environment that we can welcome students back. One of the things that I really enjoyed was walking down Franklin Street last Sunday, or this past Sunday, and we had Main Stage. If you're a student who has been here beyond a year ago, you would have experienced Main Stage. It was much different even in 2019, but as I walked down the street, it felt normal again, seeing students excited to be back, happy, engaged in quality experiences, student organizations out there doing their thing and being passionate and have an affinity for what they do. It was just extraordinary. And to me, that made things feel like normal again. Or I guess as we probably are defining it today, the new normal, because there were still masks being worn. There was still some social distancing. There were still elements that we were having to manage that 2 years ago we were not managing. So I applaud you for being here, whether it's online or whether it's here in this room today. And one of the things that before I turn this over to our campus partners from Counseling Services, I just wanted to spend a moment letting you know that we in University Recreation, we in Student Affairs, and we at Central Michigan University are committed to your well-being. We're going to try to have a safe environment. We're going to do it with science and strategy and purpose, not with our opinion and politics and things that are not in your best interest. So we're going to work hard to do that. We're going to adhere to the things that are expected of us. Many of you, or everybody would have been messaged by now, the expectations centered around vaccination and or testing. Those things are going to be taken seriously. We're not going to manage that one day here in University Recreation. That's going to be managed university-wide, where there's going to be an expectation, whether you're walking into a classroom, to a residence hall, into the Student Activity Center for work, or wherever your employment might be, residence life, wherever it might be, there is going to be an expectation, and that was mapped out in that email, and certainly the staff. We had a very, very robust meeting this morning, and we'll be here to answer any questions that you have. But please know that we're committed to making sure that this is a good environment for you and one that allows you to come in and feel supported and feel welcome, and more importantly, where you're able to do good work and be successful and while you're here. Having been here as long as I have, I've had the opportunity to experience generations of students. When I get emails today or phone calls or text messages from former students who now have students here at CMU, that means you've been there a long time, first of all, and you've now spanned a generation. We're seeing the next generation coming to CMU. And I shared some emails with Kelly Schaefer this summer that I got from some of her former student employees, and they said, I want my son or my daughter to have the very best experience that they had at Central Michigan University, just like I did. And I said, yep, we hope that's the case, but it's going to be different because those parents didn't live in a pandemic. Those parents didn't live in some of the most challenging economic times in this country's history, some of the civil unrest and the challenges that we've had. Their experience is totally different. So what we're going to do is do our best to be our best. That's what we're going to do, and give you the very best experience that we can. And it starts with today, where we talk about things that are important and more importantly, things that hopefully will reinforce the message that I just gave you. And we thought that there would be no better individuals on our campus to be able to do that than our fine staff from the Counseling Center, who's here today to talk a little bit with you about a lot of different things. They have a lot of expertise in this area. As we evaluated last year, we know the stresses, we know the challenges, we know the impacts, and they're there as a support, a safety net, a advocate to make sure that your experiences are good. So we wanted them to come and share the message today, and we have two individuals that, I guess what I really appreciate about these two individuals, they were on board with partnering with us before there was a pandemic. We were bringing comfort animals into them. We were looking at transforming part of the Student Activity Center into some spaces that supported well-being that would be so different than what other institutions are doing. So now here we are, shoulder to shoulder, arm to arm, hand to hand, because it's necessary. But to have that comforting feeling that that partnership was already in place prior to what we experienced in March of 2020 helps to make this easy. So when we called them, they said, of course I'm going to come to your training and talk to students, because that's what they do. So I'm not gonna say any more. I just wanted to welcome everybody. It is always good to be in front of you. Again, those of you that are viewing this virtually, those of you that are here, it doesn't matter. You're getting the message, and we're glad that you're a part of our team. We're glad that you're here back at Central Michigan University, and we certainly wish you the very best. So I'm going to introduce Melissa Hutchinson, who is our Executive Director of Counseling Services, Dr. Michelle Begard, who just does all kinds of wonderful stuff. I don't even know what her title is. I'm just going to put her in the category of utility, because she does everything, whether it's programming, counseling, outreach. She does a lot of different things. And so I'll turn it over to them. So thank you guys for coming. Appreciate it.
I have a question. So where is the camera for?
The camera's right here.
Right here.
Yep.
Okay. So if we get them up and moving, can we
turn around? Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
how can the people there participate? Is
Well,
there a
they can
chat box?
participate with the polling.
Okay.
And then so is there a chat box on there that they
There is a
could
chat box. Yeah.
Okay, and it would come up there. I want to be able to be interactive for our online students as well as those in person, because we want this to be for you and about you, not about us. So.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So you tell us what to do, and
So is there somebody that is monitoring that in case
and
there is a
our
question?
person who handles our tech, Scott Harrington, he's on the other end. So I'm the fill-in. So
So
I'm
can he
like
holler
the
at
fourth
us if
string.
there's a chat?
He did. Scott did. Yeah.
Okay. And so can he holler at us if there is
He sure
anything in
can.
the chat?
Yes. He
Perfect.
sure can. Yeah.
Scott, we're counting on you to do that.
You got it.
All right. There's Scott right there. That's that voice. So there's that voice that'll keep us on task. So.
Okay.
Okay? So
All
we,
right, so Stan has already introduced us. We're gonna get started here with just kind of getting a lay of how everyone is feeling and what you're thinking. We know that coming into this year, there is nobody can see us. So I am coming over
there you
here.
go.
Woohoo! I'm just gonna disclaimer, we don't teach. So this might be a little clunky, but it's all about you and whoa.
Yeah, that's it.
And
Yeah.
so we are gonna do our best just to keep us moving here. Okay,
Okay.
so do you wanna do, you
Yeah.
wanna get them up and moving?
So we titled this Reentry, Safety, Service, and Self-Care. Trying to be a little, or actually that was the title we were given.
Yep.
And as we thought about it, we talked about really readiness. You know, how ready do you feel to begin anew this fall? So we thought we would do some sociometry exercises and get you up and moving and to just place yourself where you would be on a continuum. Okay? So if this is, I am not ready, and over by the door is, I am so super ready, where would you place yourself along this aisle with your readiness for more in-person classes and activities at CMU?
So we want to
In person.
get up. So we have folks joining and I want them to be able to kind of see.
Yep.
So
Okay, not ready, don't feel safe.
maybe in the middle, like I'm sort of ready. Okay, so should I just turn this?
Okay,
Okay.
there could be, I'm kind of out of practice, my social anxiety is getting the best of me, I don't know what to say anymore, whatever. So, and then this is, you're ready. Okay, can you just pop up, why did you place yourself where you are?
Online doesn't
Okay.
So can I ask a favor for our friends that are joining virtually? Can we talk really loud so that they can all hear and feel included? Online doesn't work for me. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Okay?
What else?
Ready to graduate.
Okay,
Yes.
As a grad student, I feel like I experienced undergrad, so maybe I'm not as inclined to be, does that make sense? Like, I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes sense.
It's your sense. It makes
And I feel
sense.
like the undergrads didn't get lost a year, whereas I experienced basically the whole course, so maybe I'm just nervous about the grad.
Sure.
Yeah.
So.
Fair enough.
So just to go off of what he said, it's my first year as a grad assistant in grad school, so that's why I'm like, I'm ready, but
Yeah.
just
New responsibilities.
Yeah.
Where did you do your undergrad?
I actually did not ready here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How about you?
I feel like physically, I'm like, okay, I can do it first thing, because I didn't actually go online for the most part, but mentally, I'm just like,
Uh-huh.
Hard to get yourself motivated right
Yes.
now.
It
Well, and
is.
it's interesting because your dynamic is you're an athletic training student, correct?
Yeah.
So there's very little online
Yep.
because of the nature of that major.
Yep.
Had to be present, one of the first groups that was vaccinated, as I recall, on campus, the group. So that creates its own dynamic
It does.
just by virtue of what was required of you, as an athletic training student. I know the person who teaches in that program.
Yeah. I figured there was a correlation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anywhere over here, do you want to say anything about your readiness?
I'm an education major and I'm towards the end of the program, so I haven't had any experience at Central with in-person classes. I've had outside, but not anything with Central in a lot of my classes. But have in-person classes, going to an elementary school if the school year would have gone correctly.
Sure.
So I haven't had any.
Will you get those this year?
As right now, we should have some, but who knows what will happen once fall really hits.
Right.
Yep.
Is there anyone online, maybe?
Do we have any thoughts? Anyone online wants to share kind of like where they would fall and what their thoughts are? Feel free, for those of you who are joining us online, feel free to just unmute yourself and chime in anytime. You are part of our group, okay?
So if we shift to the question, where's your readiness for returning to or starting this particular job? Again, don't feel prepared or ready. And I'm gung-ho and I know what I'm doing and I feel comfortable.
So they can see.
All right, so we've got quite a spread.
So it's changed.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Can anybody speak to why they place themselves where they do? Yes.
I started working here in May, where we probably saw about like 30 people a night on the shift, and then there's like hundreds coming in today.
Sure.
And a lot of the big juggling acts.
It's
so,
very different.
Yes, and it's a nuance too. So.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, right. Okay. Just the numbers alone, right? Okay. What else? Yes.
I'll go. In the summer, it was a lot easier to mandate the masks, but like just working out yesterday in the fitness center, I noticed like literally half the participants were either below the nose or wearing it as a chin strap, and I was just not excited for my first fitness specialist shift of the year.
Okay.
It makes you nervous about being in there, about
having to-
enforcing the mask
Yeah, about
mandate.
having to tell people to throw it up, but.
Fair.
Where else are people? Yeah.
I'm a freshman, so I have no idea what to expect to begin with.
Fair.
Yeah. You got some people like it's not what it was, and you're like, I've never had an experience yet, so this is all. Okay. What about you?
I'm just more like nervous just because I haven't had like that much experience having a job while going to school. Because I have like with the pandemic, it was like in the middle of my school, and I also had an injury, so I couldn't work. So it was like my first school year job.
Just trying to juggle what it's like to
Uh-huh.
work part-time and go to school. How about over here?
I'm like, I feel like I'm very ready just because I worked a different job the past year, and I'm very excited for a different change of pace. It's something more accommodating to being a student.
Sure. That's important, actually.
Anybody else?
I've been working here since my freshman year, so like I think we're going a little bit closer back to normal, and even if we're not, like I don't know, it's like a second nature at this point, so I don't really feel too afraid for whatever's coming this year, because it can't be as bad as some things last year.
Okay. So for you, like, I've been to the bottom.
Yeah.
I know what it's like.
Okay. Now, I want to gauge your confidence in CMU safety protocols, where this is you're not confident and you are very confident, like you trust the policies are in place, are appropriate, that people who need to enforce them will do so, that your best interest is that, you know, that maybe could speak to conflicts with, other students about you wear a mask or not. So again, we've got quite a spectrum.
Uh-huh.
I want to share where you decided to put yourself.
Well, like we talked about before, a lot of people are in this facility specifically and it's just, they know not to do it, but they like, oh, as soon as the supervisor walks away, I'm going to do it again.
Uh-huh.
And then that leads to us having to say, if you do it again, we're going to have to ask you to leave, AKA kick you out, which you don't want to say.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, whatever. And then as soon as you walk away, and it's just like, I'm just working here. Like, I don't break the rules. I'm just trying to.
I am not the police.
Yeah, like, I want to use the facility as much as you do, so please, like.
It doesn't matter some of them, how many times you kick them out, they come back.
Sure.
They keep doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
And we just seem like the bad guy.
Yep.
So are you feeling like you got to enforce something?
Yeah.
And that no one respects your authority to do so?
Some of the time, but I mean, some of them are really respectful about it and will just throw it up, but we'll get like eye rolls and grunts and stuff.
Other thoughts? There's no right or wrong answers here. That's the thing. And one of the things that we're hoping you can see from this exercise is that there is a spectrum for everything, all things considered here. You know, there's so many moving parts to this. It's not just COVID, it's the student life balance that's always been here. You know, so there's a lot of things here. And there's one central theme we're trying to get across today. If you walk away from here remembering anything, remembering that what you need to take care of yourself may be very different than your peers, but it matters and it's important and you should focus on what you need. So if there's any one takeaway today, that's what we hope you get at, is that your well-being matters, engage in your self-care and do what works for you.
So if we were to gauge your hopefulness that this year is going to be better than last, not hopeful and hopeful.
You said indulge your,
How hopeful are you?
no, what you just said before.
About your self-care?
Yeah, I love that, sorry, I just.
You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is our whole message today.
Okay. So again, we've got a spectrum about how hopeful people are that this year could be better. Does anyone want to speak to why they place themselves where they are? Yeah.
I mean, last year was pretty bad.
Fair.
It seems like the only way we can go is up, but there is just a lot of uncertainty still, so not quite all the way going home, but.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty much the same way. I feel pretty hopeful, but not like super, just because like there's been talk of like certain classes completely went online. I've definitely had my experience already where like one of my classes was supposed to be face to face, but like maybe half a week before, like it got changed to completely online, synchronous. So it was just, I don't know. So that was kind of like disappointing. Not
It is.
like kind of frustrating. Because like you were hoping that like this experience that we kind of aim for will be there. But then when they switch, they're like, sorry, unfortunately, due to these circumstances, please understand. And it's like, I am understanding and I get that it's hard, but like also understand that I'm also trying, and trying is also hard for us to like do that.
Anybody else?
It's my second year here in Mount Pleasant.
Yep.
And it's very different from what I experienced, but I feel like I'm used to it. I'm ready to take it on. And I know what's expected of me, and I'm ready to like take it on, I guess.
You kind of got the lay of the land.
Yeah.
And then our final continuum is, how well did your summer prepare you to re-enter campus? You know, health-wise, have an opportunity to have fun or to be social or to, you know, or you burnt out from school from the summer, you know. So this is like, it really didn't prepare me, and this is unprepared. Okay, look at this spectrum.
So very different.
So why did you place yourself where you are?
Because we didn't have to wear masks for a minute there.
Yeah?
And then going back, it was just kind of hard.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
you had the whole summer out.
And now we gotta enforce it, so that,
Yeah.
gotta be the bad guys again.
Yeah.
I'd say for me, so like I just recently moved to New York, and so I don't know anyone there yet. And then I got injured at the beginning of summer and was on bed rest and kind of have a job. So all summer long, like I didn't do anything. And now all of a sudden I'm back to being like VP of an RSL, working 2 jobs, having 6 classes, and it's very like, very fast, very overwhelming, like all at once. So we're navigating that right now.
You know, if I could just chime in here, I think you're hitting on a really important point. We are so focused on COVID and safety, but we forget that re-entering in terms of the emotional energy that it takes to socialize in person versus socialize through a screen is very different. And whether we like it or not, when you do something for an extended period of time, you get acclimated to it, right? So whether you liked being online or not, you got comfortable in that routine. And now we're saying, get comfortable doing it in person all day long again. And that's a whole set of emotional energy that you haven't tapped into for a long time. So when you're thinking about your self-care, be mindful that you might feel drained faster, you might feel more tired, you might feel more uncomfortable or even anxious because you haven't been in the presence of people where you're observing their body language again and all of the things that face-to-face communication entails. You were used to it before COVID, and so then when we shut it down, you felt so lonely. I mean, I did. I just felt lonely and isolated, like I was the only one around. And then I got used to that, and then now coming back, it can feel hard again. So keep that in mind and be patient with yourself. You'll get it again.
Anybody else want to speak to their hopefulness?
Yeah, I think piggybacking off that just a little bit, I feel like the fact that we've had to do it so drastically makes such a difference too. Like I know around here, I started again, like I think like April last year here, so like I don't have a ton of experience here, but like we went from like people caps, like we only had so many people per area of an hour time, and then all of a sudden to like everyone can come, so it's so much more busy, like there's no restrictions on anything anymore except for masks. Classes, there's no hybrid or high flex options. So like we went like from one extreme to the next extreme, back to the same extreme. There was no like give and take for us as students and for the professors. So
Yeah, that's tough to navigate.
I think, another thing going off of kind of like the social aspect was like being an out-of-state student is really hard because I don't get to just like take a weekend trip to see friends. So like for me, it was 3 months before I saw anyone. And so then coming back, like everyone wants to hang out with me or everyone wants to see me. And so like my problem is like setting boundaries, and I don't always say like, well, I have to like do this. And like, I do want to see everyone because it has been so long. And then even just friends, like there's people I haven't seen in a year just because of where we've lived on campus, or some stayed home because of COVID. So like just the rush of like how many people are back on campus has been very overwhelming.
I want to just share that we had a team meeting the first day back, and most of the counselors found that day-long meeting and activities was completely exhausting because we got so used to just sitting in our office, watching, on a little square, not making eye contact with anybody, right? So I think everyone is in the midst of this transition, and everybody is in a different place. And that's something to honor. There's no right place, there's only where you are. So thank you for participating in this, and we want to shift our gears towards self-care in a way that you honor where you're at, what works for you, and what you would like to do differently to work for you. So you can sit down if you'd like, and we're going to do some polls.
You're like there.
Yeah. Not me.
Okay. Yeah.
Or go right to here.
Yeah.
You're gonna hand.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm totally all locked out here.
Oh dear. Okay.
So I'll see if I can get us back, but I might not be able to.
Well, we'll roll.
Would you like me to turn the computer back around to the screen?
Oh, that would be great.
Oh,
Thank
good
you.
job, Donna.
Hi,
everyone.
I don't know
There you go.
how to do this. So we're gonna go without a PowerPoint because that's what we do.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
okay,
Yeah, let's go right to healthcare.
okay. Oh, well, so focusing on what we can control.
Yes.
Okay, do you want to
And,
start there? And I'm going to hand out these.
Okay,
So,
okay.
or do you want me to?
No, that's all right.
Okay.
Okay. So what we did was we handed you out a self-care tip sheet. And this does not have, you can Google self-care, and you know you can get a ton of like activities that you can do. I believe that if you pay attention to what works for you, you can create your own list. When you start honoring how you're feeling and what you need and what works for you and what doesn't work for you, you can begin not only to create your own list, but also to know how, as a staff, you can support one another. Does that make sense? Okay, so if we just kind of briefly go through the self-care tips. Self-care means taking time to do the things that you enjoy. So that's important, especially when you feel overwhelmed with work, I got to study, or being bothered by conflicts or problems, that it's important to build into your day or week things that fill you with joy, that you have fun, that are pleasing to you. It also means taking care of yourself with the basics. Are you showering? Are you getting your laundry done? Are you eating well? Are you sleeping well? Are you managing the amount of sugar or the amount of alcohol that you're imbibing? Making self-care a priority. How many of you use a planner? Right? Probably because you're juggling so many things. I encourage you, just like you would put in your planner a doctor's appointment and your classes and due dates and maybe, oh, hang out with so-and-so. Every day, plug in a self-care time and be very intentional about what that is. For some of you, it might be, I just need a long shower at the end of the day, right? Another one is like, oh, I'm going to watch crazy cat videos. Or someone that could be, I'm going to talk to my sister. It's going to be different for each one of you, but knowing what those small things that you can do and putting them in your calendar every day so that you can see that self-care is just as important as getting your homework done.
So I want to throw out an example here,
Yes.
if I can. So how many of you, when you leave the house in the morning, you know where your cell phone is? How many of you make sure that your cell phone is charged? How many of you bring a charger with you? Okay, so how many of you, when you go somewhere where there's going to be water or sand or other elements that could harm your phone, you make sure that your phone is protected? Everybody? Okay. I know I do. I went to the beach on Saturday and I left it in the car because I didn't want sand in it, right? So one of the things that I think we can all agree on is that we depend on our phones, so we take really good care of them, right? So I just want to throw out, what would happen if your phone stopped working? Well, how would you feel? What would be a concern? Why do we take such good care of them?
They're expensive.
Yes, they're expensive. What else? That's a great one.
I'd be worried I'd be missing out.
Yep. Other thoughts? Like, is your life kind of organized in there? Your connection with your peers? You know, maybe your email and staying on top of schoolwork and work schedule and such? So what I want to ask is, do you take care of your body the same way that you take care of your phone? And when I say your body, I mean your physical and your mental health. Do you prioritize that in the same way that you prioritize the care of your phone? So okay, let's say, who's a yes? Okay, and who's a no? Okay, so I'm curious as to Isn't your body expensive?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, if we can't do something, we could miss out on something, right? And your body is needed to think and to move and to interact with others. So is it fair to say that taking care of ourselves physically and mentally and emotionally is equally, if not more important than taking care of our phones?
I think it should be the most important thing, no matter what.
So I'm posing a challenge to you. When Michelle's talking about your self-care plan and making it unique for you, I want you, when you wake up in the morning, to think about your physical and your mental health in the same way you think about taking care of your phone. Because if you have your phone and your phone is always important to you, now you have a little, what do you call it when you got something to jog your memory? But you have something that is reminding you now, I got to take care of me, because me is what's going to help me graduate, is going to help me do my job, is going to help me learn in my classes, connect with my peers, connect with my family and other loved ones. So that's a challenge I'm putting out to you, and a different way to think about self-care.
So great analogy. Hopefully that will really stick to it. Like, am I worth as much as my phone? Right.
Yep.
So as we start thinking intentionally, what we'll be doing is being specific about what our self-care goals are. Not, I'm going to take better care of myself, or I'm going to relax more. You're going to be specific about what does that look like. So-and-so always makes me laugh, so I'm going to make sure that we get together every 2 weeks. Very specific. Making it a habit. That this isn't something that you reward yourself after like a month's hard work. Finally, I'm going to do something special for me. No, this is not a special night. This is a daily practice. And set boundaries about it for your time. So if it's on your planner, respect it like any other item on your agenda and do it. And carve out the time that you need to do it. Again, small little ways of taking care of yourself can be just as effective as having like a whole day. Not everybody can go to the beach for a whole day, but there are things that you can do that last 5 minutes or 10 minutes or an hour or an evening that you know fill you with joy or rejuvenate your spirit, or just taking care of you. Like, I know I would feel better if my clothes were clean, because I'm really feeling skanky. Because these sweatpants, like, I've been in them for like, you know, a week. And I know I would feel better if I would just wash them. Little things like that. You're being intentional. Unhealthy activities don't count as self-care. Now, all of us can use unhealthy activities or overuse some activities for self-care when they're either just self-soothing or they could be even destructive. So like drinking too much maybe would not be a healthy way of self-care. Lots of people find, I just want to binge watch Netflix, which can be fun with done in moderation. But if that's the only self-care strategy that you're using, what you're doing is just kind of escaping and going into another world and not really taking care of yourself. So you want to be much more intentional about what fills you when you engage in self-care. Can anybody think of a not so healthy thing that they do, or an indulgence that sometimes can, like, I watched more TV during COVID than I ever have in my life. I'd come home and it would be like exhausted. So I know for me, I was just tired all the time. I got to find other ways to rejuvenate myself than spacing out. Yes?
A lot of the times I'll take breaks on my phone and end up scrolling every social media for like an hour. And I feel bad about it.
Right.
So one of the things we were wondering about is we wanted to help you realize that, or think about rather, that what you used for managing stress and anxiety before COVID may be different than what you need now. So Michelle just shared that she watched more TV now than she ever has before because she just felt too exhausted to engage in some of her other self-care strategies. So I'm wondering if we can just kind of shout out some of the things before the pandemic that you did to take care of yourself. Just shout it out.
Class music.
Thanks.
Yeah? What else? Uh-huh.
I want to be honest, I didn't really take care of myself a lot before, but having only spent time with myself because of the pandemic, I realized how important it is. And so like, I want to say that there was a lot before, but there's much more now.
So you're already noticing that change.
Yeah.
So what have you noticed? Has anyone noticed that your self-care strategies that you used to use don't feel as effective? How do you know? Like, what do you notice?
My new ways are a lot better.
Okay, you feel better with your new strategies.
I found myself like starting stuff right before the pandemic, and then once it hit, I was like, oh, I can't do it anymore. And then afterwards, it took a while to like get back into the routine. So that's helpful.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. So I want you to just shout out things that you're doing now to take care of yourself. And is it different?
Yoga.
Yoga?
Meal planning.
Meal planning. Oh, I like that.
Saying no.
Okay, that's excellent.
Saying
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Others? No, go. Just ping pong it out.
Yep.
Taking the weekend off.
Okay, yeah. Did you have something?
Uh-huh.
Structure I have.
Yeah, did you?
Oh, I sure wasn't stalking really bad during the pandemic, but I've been trying to get better about it and give myself a better routine and schedule. I've noticed that making a planner for myself is my everything.
Uh-huh.
I would say like, not to like 100%, but I know, like knowing my self-worth now.
Great.
And what do you think you could do to support one another in this role here? Because, you know, everybody's on a different set of readiness. There's different sets of hopes. There's different levels of concern about having to address masks being worn. I know that last year, most student groups couldn't get together. You didn't go to coffee after your shift, right? You didn't have potlucks or, you know, get-togethers. What do you think you could do amongst yourself to create an environment that fosters well-being? Yes.
I don't know, when I did my first shift, or like when I was like taking over someone's shift, like making sure, checking in with them, is everything okay? Do you have any questions for today? Oh, if you like notice something, oh, this is what I noticed today. Keep an eye out for it. Just like communication between all of us and just kind of checking in with one another, or even texting each other and group chat or whatever.
Right.
So I'm not sure if folks at home can hear that. I just want to make sure because I think that's a great one. Just checking in with your coworkers and making sure they have what they need and you have what you need, making transitions smoother. What else?
Taking the time to like understand what self-care means to other people, like especially because it's gonna be different for everyone, but like taking an interest and then maybe like kind of offering to partake in those activities with them.
I like that.
Yeah.
Maybe having like real check-ins with people, because I hate when people are like, how are you? Good.
And they
Like,
keep
that's-
walking.
Like every time it's so fake. So like actually like checking in and seeing how someone really is doing. I think that would be cool.
I almost say just hold people accountable for their own mental health. That's where we are sometimes. I didn't notice until I was at the point where I was very grateful and not helping them like this.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So real friends are real with each other.
Sometimes, like with my roommate, we become like aware of what our like each other's self-care habits are, and we'll take like notice of when like those self-care habits aren't like prevalent anymore, and checking in when we notice that those aren't happening. Like we're doing more.
Say finding common, which is finding common self-care, like just come up with a conversation with someone else, like basketball too, like, hey, you want to go play tomorrow or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I know a big problem I had back home was like, I worked at a gym at home too, and nobody would ever cover my shifts. I worked with a lot of people that like worked the bare minimum, that's all they did. And like my family would go and do things, and I'd be stuck at work, and then they'd be like, from me, especially being to be out in home. Like if they're all home doing something, and I'm stuck here working, like that's gonna be really hard.
So kind of being mindful of how what you do impacts your coworkers, because you're all a team. You're all in this together, right?
Right.
Yes. Yeah. I'm trying to be mindful of the time because I
Yes.
know we have, we have like
Yes.
3 minutes.
So what I have is I have some paint chips here. I'm just going to hand them out, and I want you.
They all have them.
Oh, you've done it already?
I did.
She's just way ahead of me. And do they have a button?
They do.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I'd like you to put on the paint chip 2 things that you are intentionally going to do for self-care for yourself, and 1 thing that you are intentionally going to do to foster the well-being of the group. And I don't know, do you have regular staff meetings?
Depends on your position.
Depends on your
Okay.
position.
It's a great couple.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Because I encourage you to bring that up as an agenda on your staff meeting.
Yep.
Like, what can we do to support each other or have fun? One of the things that got me through COVID was we had 2 people who were a fun committee, and they always had a little game or share a story when we had our meetings to break the ice and to just be real with each other.
Will you repeat the prompts again?
Yes.
So 2 things intentionally that you're going to do for your own self-care, and the third is 1 intentional thing you're going to do to foster the well-being of your team. And you have a button that says your mental health matters. So that means your own mental health matters, and people who read it, their mental health matters. So if you wear it, this also can be like you just point to the button.
Right.
Like, are we taking care of it, folks? Right? Is this our phone? Are we charged today?
We should have put a phone on here.
Yeah.
And so we just put up some things for you to think about. So I just want to circle back that your self-care plan is for you. It may be different than your friends, your family members, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be the same. We're all different people. We all have different needs. And the last thing, if I could just, as I listen and watch where everybody is on the spectrum for everything, give yourself and your classmates, your coworkers, a little grace. No one is perfect, and the only thing that we can do wrong going through this is expect perfection of ourselves and each other. And so just recognize that we're all in this together, and if we work together, we'll get through it together. Any last thoughts, Michelle? And it's 5 o'clock, so.
And if you have any, just to say, we're from the Counseling Center. We offer free confidential counseling, individual and group. You can check out our website. We've got lots of self-help pages and information around self-care and mental health and coping with feelings. So please use us as a resource.